Good morning to the good people of Cairo. It is a beautiful day here in Egypt, live from Quarantine Studios. Here to serve your daily, up-to-date news, because your news is our business.
صور بيه.
Following the government's decision to decrease curfew hours, the situation in Egypt has started to decline. As on the 1st of May, 358 new cases were recorded, the highest number of cases recorded in Egypt. Egypt has exceeded several African countries, as it now has upwards of 8,000 cases. During this coronavirus pandemic, the last thing we might think of is economies. But what if I told you that solving the current economic crisis would actually contribute to ending this nightmare?
Action.
Understanding what the economic indicators are is helpful to understand and spread awareness over the current economic situation. Today, we have with us the renowned doctor and professor of Arab Wednesday University, Dr. Omar Mahdi, with us today. We'll be back after the break.
بغرامه مشغولة عليه عضلات وقوة ورجولة فليلته عضلاته بيجامته حركاته شرباته خطواته استيكاته بوك بوك مكسراته هلا هلا عالفانيلا رجولة جدعانة خلتني أحبه وأحلم بيه كده صبح وليل نفسي أبقى قريبة قوي منه زي فانيلي قطنين ابن الجيران جامد عليه طلع لما بشوفه بقول هلا هلا على فليلته عضلاته بجنته حركاته شرباته خطواته استيكاته بوك بوك مكسراته هلا هلا عالفانيلا
قطنين. Action.
Dr. Mahdi, Saif Rami is with you here today from Quarantine News, and we were just pointing out the importance of being aware of the economic indicators. Can you please help us out here? Let's start by telling us what are economic indicators?
Good morning, people. From its name, it's quite apparent. What is an economic indicator? It's a list of few terminologies which help us determine the condition of an economy, whether it's prospering or collapsing. The list is so long, but just to take some examples, here are some. GDP, inflation rate, and price of crude oil. They help determine how would the economy be like on the long run. And of course, they act as an aid to economists in times of making financial decisions.
Let's focus on the term GDP for now. I come to hear it a lot, and so are the audience, but I don't think we are all familiar with its meaning.
GDP, or gross domestic product, economically speaking, is the dollar value of all goods and services running within a country's borders per year. But not any good or service, of course, would be counted. A commodity has to first meet some conditions. First, it has to be a final product, meaning not the items needed in the production itself, but the product. Second, a product is counted on the GDP according to the production date, regardless when it was sold. For example, a 96 Ford Mustang might take several years to be sold in an auction. However, it's still counted in the production year's GDP. Third, it has to be sold within the country's borders. Foreign investments aren't counted in the GDP.
Oh, but I was formally introduced to GDP, and I do know there is more than one type. Am I right?
Yes, of course. There is real and nominal GDP. Real is after inflation is taken into account. while nominal is measured in current prices by disregarding the effect of inflation. I'm trying to simplify these scales as much as possible.
Of course.
However, calculations are much more complicated.
I am sure there's a portion of the audience who are as interested as I am to know how GDP is calculated.
Sure, here's the formula. GDP equals C plus G plus I plus NX.
But what does that mean in layman terms?
As in consumption plus government spending plus investment plus net exports.
So, Dr. Mahdi, is increasing GDP a good or a bad thing?
Okay, this is a troublesome question. Even the best economists wouldn't be able to give you a dead-end answer. To answer this question, we have to tackle it from several angles. First off, logically speaking, an increasing GDP means increase in production and gross transactions. So it would make sense to say that the answer is yes. However, it doesn't have to mean that we are all better off. For example, if Saudi Arabia decided to legalize alcohol, it would be expected that GDP is going to increase.
Of course.
However, it's a new commodity introduced to a vigorously awaiting market, but the GDP disregards the social well-being. It disregards also the consequences of increasing sales of a certain good. Like in the case of Saudi Arabia, alcohol. Increasing alcohol sale and use would lead to increase in expenses of healthcare, increase in average car accidents ratio, and a negative impact on the society's overall behavior. So would you say after all of that we need to boost our GDP no matter the means? I don't think so.
But most audience members today won't really care about the society as a whole and will want to know how GDP affects them individually. So, how GDP affects me, Saif Rami, and News Anchor at Quarantine Studios individually?
Great question, Mr. Saif. I was hoping you'd ask that. When GDP growth is low, it leads to recession, which has impact on the earning potential of people, decreasing wages among others. Thus, the higher growth rate of GDP is important, not only for the economic health of a country, but also for the economic health of a common man, either directly or indirectly. For you, Mr. Saif, for example, as a news anchor, if GDP grows, you have a higher potential of earning more money and a higher potential of not losing due to the economic decay.
Well, I sure as hell hope that keeps increasing. Which country has the highest GDP now, though? With all this economic disturbance to the novel coronavirus, I would expect the rankings would have changed, right?
GDP has suffered in most countries these past few months due to the COVID-19, but that was not enough to change the rankings. For now, it is really hard to overtake the United States' mighty $19 trillion GDP, especially since the closest competitors, China, is a measly $12 trillion. It is going to take more than a few months of turmoil for any country to overtake the United States right now, with all the countries suffering from the virus.
We have taken much of your time already, and we would really appreciate you answering this final question. How badly has Egypt been affected till now, and what is expected to come in the next few months?
Egypt has been standing in the middle of the pack in terms of ranking for now. 40s and 50s is where it's been standing for a long time, which is not a bad thing. Egypt's GDP has steadily been increasing for the past 5 years, which is a sign of a healthy economy. Egypt is expected to reach $315 billion by the end of 2020, but that is unclear now due to the coronavirus. Although the virus has affected Egypt greatly, they've been managing this epidemic amazingly and are regarded as one of the best responding countries by the World Health Organization. Egypt has not completely closed down factories yet. Because of that, GDP is still rising steadily, although slower than before, and Egypt is expected to be the best country coming out of the crisis, at least economically.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahdi of Arab Wazza University. I hope all of our audience members learned something from today's broadcast. I, for one, am very grateful for today's broadcast. Stay home, stay safe. Saif Rami from Quarantine.